Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pouring ourselves a tall glass of controversy and taking on a true breakfast icon, orange juice. Okay, let's just dive right in. For decades, a glass of OJ was the absolute symbol of a healthy start to your day. But now? Well, now it's right at the center of a huge nutritional debate. Experts are seriously asking, is this stuff actually good for you, or is it just sugar water in a clever disguise? And this slide really says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the mystery. How on earth did the hero of the breakfast table become a nutritional villain in so many people's eyes? To figure that out, we're going to have to peel back the layers.
To solve this, we actually need to go back in time. We have to understand how orange juice got so famous and so tangled up in our idea of a healthy breakfast in the first place.
You know, its health journey started way back in the 18th century as a literal lifesaver for sailors, keeping scurvy at bay. Then, fast forward to the early 1900s, and you get this stroke of marketing genius, the Drink an Orange campaign that actually tripled consumption. But the real game changer was during World War II, with the invention of frozen concentrate. Suddenly, it was everywhere. And by the 1980s, orange juice was an absolutely untouchable breakfast superstar.
But then, science had a kind of aha moment. Our understanding of nutrition got a lot more sophisticated, and the focus shifted from just what's in the juice to what happens to the orange itself during the juicing process. And believe me, that changed everything.
See, in a whole orange, the sugars are what we call intrinsic. Think of them as being locked away inside this complex fibrous net of cell walls. This structure, this matrix, makes your body work to break it all down, which means the sugar gets released nice and slow into your bloodstream.
But the simple act of juicing, it completely obliterates that net. The blades just shred those cell walls, and all the sugar is set free at once. They go from being intrinsic to free. And without that fibrous barrier to slow things down, your body just soaks them up incredibly fast.
So here's the absolute crucial point. When the World Health Organization made this call, they weren't saying the sugar in juice is bad because of where it comes from. No, they were focused on its effect. Because it hits your system so fast, it behaves a lot like the added sugar you'd find in a can of soda.
All right, enough theory. Let's look at the hard numbers and see how this all shakes out. And to make it a fair fight, we're comparing equal weights. 240 grams of a whole orange right up against 240 grams of orange juice.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the first thing you'll notice is that the calories are pretty much identical. A lot of people assume the juice is way more caloric, but gram for gram, nope, that's not the problem here.
And look at this. The total amount of sugar is also almost the exact same. So you're probably thinking, okay, if the calories and the sugar are basically a wash, then what's the big deal? Where's the problem?
Boom. Here it is. The fiber. The whole orange has over 11 times more fiber. This one huge difference is what changes the entire metabolic story of how your body handles everything else.
And that massive drop in fiber has a direct measurable consequence. Just look at the glycemic load. That's basically a number for how much a food is going to spike your blood sugar. The juice has a glycemic load that's 2, even 3 times higher. That puts a much bigger, much faster demand on your body to produce insulin.
So all of this data really fuels two powerful and totally competing arguments. And this is exactly why everyone, from scientists to health organizations to the juice industry, is still locked in this really complicated debate.
So on one side, you have the free sugar argument. The idea here is that the super fast sugar rush is the challenge for your body, and those repeated insulin spikes are just not great for you long term. But on the other side, you've got the nutrient matrix argument, which says, hey, wait a minute, juice isn't just sugar. It's packed with vitamins, potassium, and cool compounds like hesperidin that make it way different from a soda.
This scientific debate has led some major health organizations to take a really cautious stance. The World Health Organization lumps juice with all other free sugars that we should limit. And the American Academy of Pediatrics, they recommend absolutely no juice for babies under 1 and really strict limits for older kids. Meanwhile, you've got the citrus industry pushing back, saying that if you only focus on the sugar, you're missing the whole point. They highlight how nutrient-dense it is, all that vitamin C, all that potassium, and they make it very clear that 100% juice is worlds apart from those sugary fruit drinks.
And this brings us to what might be the most important point of all. Context is everything. The question, is orange juice healthy, doesn't have a simple yes or no answer. For a sick kid who needs fluids, it can be a great tool. For someone with diabetes, it could be a risk with breakfast, but a literal lifesaver if their blood sugar suddenly crashes.
So, where does that leave the future of our favorite breakfast drink? Well, let's take a look at how the industry is trying to innovate its way right out of this debate.
What's happening now in food science is pretty fascinating. They're basically trying to re-engineer juice to fix the very problems that processing created. So they're adding fiber back in to slow down that sugar rush, they're fortifying juices with things like probiotics to turn them into wellness drinks, and they're using cool new technologies to keep more of the original nutrients intact.
Which really leaves us with one big final question. Can all this high-tech science and fortification truly put the orange back in the juice? Can it replicate the complex, slow-release magic of eating the whole fruit? Or, when it comes right down to it, is the simple, humble orange still the undisputed champion?